Here are 7 rules you can apply to achieving anything you desire.
Number 1, get serious. Make a decision to go all the way to the top. Up to now, you've thought about it. Up to now, it's passed your mind. Many of you made the decision and you decided to get serious and your lives have taken off. Like in the shadow going up the dark side of the hill until the moment you decide that, by gum, I'm going to be the best in what I do. I'm going to be in the top 10%. And suddenly you emerge into the sunshine and your life is forever after different. Wonderful. Get serious. Don't fool around anymore.
You've really got to get serious. You don't have to be grim, but you must be serious. I know a guy that's got a half a dozen jokes keeping him from becoming wealthy. He's not known as rich. He's known as a joker, which I guess is okay if that's the kind of life you want to live. But it really isn't the best way to live. To go from average to fortune, you must get serious. And you must get serious about 2 very important things. Number 1 is setting your goals and where you want to go. Designing the next 5, the next 10 years is so vitally important. What do you want to do economically? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be? What would you like to have? What would you like to share? How much would you like to earn? How far would you like to go? Those are some major questions to ask. And for that all to work out like you want it to for the next 5 or 10 years, in my personal opinion, you've got to get serious. Then you have to get serious about another important subject. And that important subject is called personal development. Personal development is striving hard to become the kind of person that you want to be. There's a very important question to ask, and the question is, 10 years from now, you will surely arrive. And the question is, where? So to answer the question of where you want to arrive and the kind of person you want to be, you've got to get serious.
The most amazing thing that you've found throughout your life is that when you make a decision, that wonderful quote that Cam quotes, when you make a decision, nature moves too. All manner of things begin to happen that would not have happened in the absence of the decision. So very often you'll make a decision either to get in or get out, either to do it or not do it, to make a commitment or walk away, and that commitment suddenly triggers a whole series of activities and actions like dominoes. They just start to click. You get phone calls and you get letters and you get emails, and all kinds of things begin to happen immediately after you make a very clear decision, which means that you set a very clear goal. And writing the goal down, is, as we say, is very powerful.
Number 2, take excellent care of your health. Take excellent care of your physical health.
Here's why. The body and the mind work together. Some people don't do well because they don't feel well. The body and the physical and the health is a support system for the mental that can dream, that can think, that can ponder, that can wonder, that can design, that can believe, that can have the spirit and all that's possible in terms of emotional content. But now, since the mind and the body work together, you got to take care of the body as a support system. It says God looks on the inside, people look on the outside. So you got to take care of both. What's the old phrase? You never have a second chance to make a first impression. One of the first things to go to work on with intensive effort, and that's your own good health. Because a lot of things come from that. You know, the future possibilities could be greatly, 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 greatly diminished by being lazy in producing maximum health. It's incredible. And you can't do that worldwide kind of high-intensity activity without being incredibly healthy. So the idea of being rich and the idea of covering the world and the idea of lecturing around the world, those are high and lofty ideals, but unless you have the health, I'm telling you, it can't be done. So why not start with the health and see if your own vitality would inspire you to more imagination? Because now when you imagine, you can pull it off. If you'll take care of that as a support system, you can't believe what else is possible. You can't believe what the mind can think of. You can't believe your imagination and your faith and your ability to say, hey, I'll go to work and produce the muscle to do the deal. Why? I'm healthy. I'm vigorous. I'm vital. I'm not out of breath. But sometimes, you know, when all these ideas and stuff comes and, you know, you're a little bit too weak to even attempt, you say, oh, I'm not sure I can do that. The doubts sometimes are more physical than they are mental. You haven't got the vitality to believe it's possible. But if you've got the vitality and the strength and you've got the health to do it, I'm telling you, ideas seem to love to be invested in healthy people that have got the ability and the ambition to pull it off. They got the health to do it. They got the strength to do it. So have a talk with yourself. and say, this is the last time I'm going to be out of breath. This is the last time I will lack the vitality to pull off my dreams. Because sure, the dream factory will shut down if you haven't got the vitality and the energy and the health to pull it off. Here's what's good advice. Make sure the outside is an excellent reflection of the inside.
Number 3 is get around the right people. Get around winners. Get around positive people. Get around people with goals and plans and people who are going somewhere with their lives and have high aspirations. Get around and fly with eagles. As Zig says, you can't continue to scratch with the turkeys if you want to fly with the eagles. And get away from negative people. Get away from toxic people that complain and whine and moan all the time. Who needs them? Geez, life is too short.
See, ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot of energy to reach your goal. It takes a lot of emotional, mental, and spiritual energy to reach your goal. And you can run faster with 100 who want to go than with one around your neck. So there are 2 kinds of relationships: nourishing relationships and toxic relationships. Nourishing relationships are the relationships that inspire you. They motivate you. They bring the best out of you. Toxic relationships are relationships with people that always criticize you. All they can do is find fault. All they can do is just exploit your weaknesses. All they can do is remind you of the mistakes that you've made in the past. These people are bad for your health. Toxic people can run your blood pressure up. One apple can spoil a whole barrel. One negative energy drainer can spoil your whole life. I know people whose lives have been ruined because somebody wasn't good for them. See, there are some people that aren't good for you. Hello? Make a list of who you communicate with most and ask yourself the question, what kind of person am I becoming because of this relationship? Is it helping me to grow mentally and emotionally and spiritually? Am I becoming a better person because of this relationship? Do they bring out the best in me? Do they inspire me? Do they encourage me to develop my greatness? Do they make me stretch? So you got to look at the people in your life and find out what kind of person are you becoming because of that relationship. My mother used to say, birds of a feather flock together. You run around with losers, you will end up a loser.
Number 4 is find out what's holding you back. What's holding you back?
The only thing that restricts what you do, have, is your own thinking. Why are poor people poor? Because they think poorly. One of the exercises that we do is we say, take your current income or your best year's income and add a 0 to it as your goal. Now, the first time you think of that, your mind does a reject. It's like a reject, sort of like a body rejects a new organ. Well, your mind rejects it. It just kicks it out, and it keeps kicking. It's impossible to go from what I've taken my whole life to earn what I'm earning today, and you're saying I should start thinking about earning 10 times as much. I say, so do this exercise. Just imagine that there's 1 in 1,000 probability or possibility that you could achieve an income goal of 10 times. Just 1 in 1,000. Is that true? Is that possible? Say yes. Yeah, there's at least one chance in 1,000 that's possible. Well, could there possibly be 2 chances? Maybe 3 chances. What could you do to increase the probabilities? And once you start to think like that, your thinking begins to change from, no, it's not possible for me, to I wonder how it would be possible. What would I have to do to earn that kind of money? And now your whole creative mind opens up, and you start to think and see possibilities that you never saw before. So let's say you don't make it to 10 times. Let's say you only make it to 8 times, or 5 times. But the thing is, the starting point is to start changing your thinking about what's possible. My friend Charlie Jones, very successful speaker, and lives in Santa Barbara. He saw his father pounding away on something under the car, and he said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Well, my brakes are gone. My brakes are out, so I'm sort of pounding off the brake, the pipe which has the brake fluid in it, and I'll just be able to sort of pump it and until I get back to Oklahoma, and then I can get somebody to fix it for me inexpensively." He said, "Dad," he said, "that's crazy. You can't drive all the way back to Oklahoma with no brakes." He's going to use the emergency brake and everything else. He said, "Oh, let's get it fixed." He said, "Well, it costs a lot of money in a place like Santa Barbara." I said, but what are you talking about? I said, what if the brakes failed on a grade or on a winding road or something like that? He said, "You could die." He said, "Why is it you're so cheap?" He said, "Charlie," he said, poor folks have poor ways, and it's really hard to get over. Always remember that. Poor folks have poor ways. They think poor. They think cheap. They think saving. They think spending as little as possible. They think how little money they have. My friend Jim Rohn said, he said, the most important part of becoming a millionaire is not the money, but it's the person you have to become a millionaire. You have to become a totally different person to go from zero to being worth more than $1 million. But the good news is that if you lost all of your money because of a crash in the economy or something else, you can make it all back again because now you're the kind of person who can make it. Once you become a millionaire in your thinking, then it's only a matter of time before you quickly restore that amount of money in your reality. So the starting point is to change our thinking, which we have said over and over again.
Number 5, positive visualization. See yourself as the very best in your field.
We know from the various mental laws that we've discussed is that all improvement in your life begins with an improvement in your mental pictures. We know that because of the law of correspondence, that your outer world tends to be a mirror of your inner world. This means that what you see on your outside, what you see in your relationships, your health, your work, your customers, and so on, tends to be a result of the pictures you have inside. We also know that your self-image controls your performance. It is the way you see yourself and think about yourself inside determines how you act on a day-to-day basis. If you see yourself and think about yourself as an extraordinary person, if you see yourself as a success, if you see yourself as happy and positive and confident, in control, if you see yourself as a loving parent or spouse, you will act that way toward others. So therefore, all improvement in your life begins with an improvement in your mental pictures, with you consciously and deliberately selecting the pictures that you're going to allow your mind to dwell upon. And that word dwell is terribly important. When you dwell upon a picture, your subconscious mind accepts the picture as a command and goes to work to bring that picture into your reality. It's the most phenomenal thing. Your subconscious mind controls your reticular activating system. Let me give you an example. If you've ever thought that you're going to buy a red sports car, you send a signal to your brain that red sports cars are now important to you. Your reticular activating system suddenly activates all of your senses so that wherever you go, you see red sports cars everywhere. Every time you turn around, you see them turning the corner, you see them parked, you see them in parking lots, you see them in newspapers and magazines, you see them everywhere. If you begin to tell your brain that you intend to be a great success in your field, that you are going to move to the top, that you're going to be one of the most pristine people in what you do, if you're going to make a lot of money, whatever it happens to be, this is accepted as a command. The reticular cortex switches on all these switches, and from then on, you begin to see all kinds of possibilities that help you move toward achieving that goal. Why is it that successful people move so rapidly toward achieving their goals? It's very simple. It's because they're thinking all the time, and as a result of thinking about what they want, they see all kinds of opportunities around them to achieve them. The average person doesn't even see, because the average person is so worried about how little money they have and how much their bills are, all the problems are, and the more they think about those things, the more they get them. So, with regard to positive visualization, see yourself as you desire. And what will happen is your subconscious mind will say, well, this must be a command, this must be what you want, so it goes to work and it coordinates your words, actions, thoughts, activities, emotions, and so on, so that they're consistent with achieving and bringing that mental picture into your reality. If you interview successful people, it's a very interesting thing. If you interview successful people and you ask them on a regular basis, what do you think about? What are you thinking about now? You'll find that successful people are always thinking constructive, positive, creative thoughts that help them to be more successful. Feed your mind on a regular basis, the way you would feed your body with a special kind of foods. Feed your mind with pictures consistent with what you want. Just before you go to bed at night, visualize and see your ideal situation the coming day. See yourself performing at your best. See yourself living your ideal lifestyle. When you feed that picture into your mind just before you go to sleep, what happens is your subconscious and your superconscious goes to work on it all night long. If I were to say to you, oh, there's a remarkable discovery. Did you know that you become what you eat? That your food determines your physical health? If I were to say that to you, you'd say, oh, give me a break, Brian. Everybody knows you become what you eat. And the problem is we just don't eat the things that we should. Positive mental food is exactly the same. You become what you think about most of the time. In other words, your whole life today, everything around you has been determined by what you think about most of the time. You've attracted this into your life. What do you feed your mind on a regular basis? And this is not something that you are casual about. You must be very, very deliberate and feed your mind a diet of mental protein, of highly nutritious words, pictures, quotes, magazines, television, audio tapes, books, newspapers, and so on. The average person, when you look at what they read, the average person reads sensational, negativistic, violent garbage. In fact, they tried to publish a newspaper on several occasions that only had good news in it, and the newspaper failed. Do you know why it failed? It's because the great majority of people wouldn't buy a newspaper that did not have dreadful stories of dreadful things happening to innocent people. Your job is to ask yourself, when you look at a book, is this going to help you in some way? If you read all the negative stories in newspapers day after day after day, you get the idea, by the way, that our whole society is falling apart. If you read negative stories in magazines, you get the same thing. Things that you feed into your mind have such an enormous impact on your mind. Make sure that what you're listening to, what you're watching, what you're hearing is consistent with what you want to accomplish.
And number 6, positive self-talk. Talk to yourself positively all the time. Control your inner dialogue.
I believe that you have to begin to consciously monitor your inner conversation and start talking to yourself. Start building yourself up. Sometimes the only good things you will hear about you are the things that you say to you. Young lady that was in the audience this afternoon said to me, I told myself yesterday for the first time, I'm proud of me. And she said, I felt good about that. So I'm saying, learn to be your own booster. Start building yourself up. Start encouraging yourself. Start saying, I can do this. I can make this happen. When I started thinking about becoming a speaker, I said, yes, I can do this. I can make this happen. When I start trying to convince myself I can be a businessman after flopping and failing and losing thousands of dollars and feeling stupid and dumb and having people take advantage of me because of what I didn't know. I had to talk to myself because people were saying to me that I was dumb. And somewhere in the back of my mind, I was saying, you're right. Look at what I've done. I had to say, no, Les. Hey, come on, man. Get yourself together. You can handle this. You just haven't figured it out yet. It's all right. This is your training period. This is the tuition you have to pay for what you don't know. You can do this. Other people have done it. It doesn't take an Einstein. And when I start changing that kind of mindset of beating myself up because of my mistakes and start looking at the possibility of my doing better, of my making the adjustment that would enable me to do what I want to do successfully, things begin to change.
We know that successful people, positive people, are people who explain things to themselves in a positive way. W. Clement Stone, one of the richest men in the world, said that one of the keys to his success was to look at every adversity and immediately say, that's good. That's good. And then to find something in it that was good. And here's the key to positive self-talk. It's one of the most important parts of modern psychology, and it's the use of affirmations. Remember, you become what you think about. What you repeat to yourself over and over again is accepted by your subconscious mind as a command. There are 3 P's to self-talk. First of all, it must be personal. That means all really good self-talk that programs your subconscious begins with the word I. I can, I am, I like myself, I can do it, I feel happy, I feel healthy, I feel terrific. Now the second P is it must be in the present tense. In other words, you don't say, I will quit smoking, I will earn a good living, I will be happy. You say, I am happy, I am a non-smoker, I feel terrific, I like myself. And the third is that it's positive. So instead of saying, I'm not going to smoke anymore, you say, I am a non-smoker. If I could give you one secret of success, it would be this. It is to talk about the things you want and refuse to talk about the things you don't want. It's to talk continually in terms of what you want to happen. It's to interpret things continually in terms of the way you want them to be. It's to continually control your inner dialogue so you're always saying the things to yourself and then to others that are consistent with the person you want to be and the life that you want to have.
And number 7, positive action. Get going. Move fast. Develop a sense of urgency. A sense of urgency is the one thing that you can develop that will separate you from everyone else in your field. Develop a bias for action. When you get a good idea, do it now. Do it now. Do it now. Only 2% of people in our society have a bias for action. And if you're already in the top 10%, you can move yourself into the top 2% by resolving that whenever you have an idea or something, do it now. Do it now. Do it now. And the faster you move, the better you get. And the better you get, the more you like yourself. And the more you like yourself, the higher your self-esteem is. And the higher your self-esteem is, the greater your self-discipline. And the more you persist, and you ultimately become unstoppable.